Hey guys, it's me, YayaDiamond. What's up? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have been doing this since 2006. What? Oh, wow. And the guest
2006.
just
Okay.
2006, yes. And hold on, Mr. Buse. Now, see, he's already ready to be in here. And I want to thank you so much, Mr. Buse, for being here. Thank you so much.
You're
We've been
welcome.
doing this in 2006. Yes, sir. I have been in this industry since 2006, and our guests are amazing, just like you. Thank you so much for joining us again with your second book.
Okay.
So, for those who have never heard of Mr. Buse, I don't know who may not of my guests, but introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Um, I'm originally from Long Island, New York. I worked in designing pumps, very large industrial pumps, for 40 some odd years. I went into research. I developed 24 US patents on pumps.
Wow.
And then in 2006, there's a 2006 again. Well, let's see. Well, my wife had Alzheimer's, and while she was having Alzheimer's, I was outside in the garden observing all the flora and fauna. In fact, I've been doing it for 40 years, and
Mm,
I kept a log of what was happening. And then in the 1990s, they started to talk about climate change,
yeah.
and all of a sudden things started to change with the weather outside. And they kept on talking about it. And I said, well, I have a diary of over 40 years. I'm going to start seeing what it really is about rather than what they're talking about.
Wow.
And so in 2005, I started to put all this down on my laptop. And I used Excel to make what engineers do. I made charts.
Wow.
And, and the charts showed that the mean temperature of each month was going up, up, up.
Mm,
So in July, over 30 years, the temperature has gone up 6 degrees. Otherwise, we're getting warm. and so,
yeah.
and so I did it further, and I found out that every month the temperature was going up, up, and then it started to go down around August, and down until November, it was about the same as before over 30 years. But the only month where the temperature was going down was December, of all things.
Mm,
All right, oh my. And so I kept on looking, and in the month of March, where we get a lot of snow, back in the 1990s, we had a lot of snow every Wednesday. And the chart showed it going down to down. And so where I live, we have had no snow in March for years now. No snow.
oh, wow.
All right.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so that was the beginning of climate change. It's happening. You might hear about the tornadoes and the hurricanes as being big things, but right here where we live in a neighborhood, very silently, it was happening very subtly. So what I mean by that is I looked at the trees first, the big trees, and I found that over 30 years, the trees were coming out early by 2 weeks. And at the end of the season in October, the leaves were coming down later by 2 weeks. So
Mm,
we had a change of 4 weeks in agriculture. So it was very silently happening. And then I looked at the perennials, and the daffodils were originally coming up in April. Now they're coming up in March. And so other perennials did the same thing. They're coming up
mhm.
much earlier. So I said, wow, this is something. And the same thing was happening to the birds. the birds were coming earlier, and the number of species that were migrating, I had lost 10 species over that period of time,
Oh.
but then I gained 10 species, new ones, account of this change in temperature.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
when we were growing tomatoes, tomatoes originally the last crop was in August. Now we're still getting tomatoes in October.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh my gosh.
all these subtle things are telling us what's happening. So I look at it and I say, well, what is really happening? So all these perennials are coming up earlier. And so when the birds get here, the pollen and the insects have all changed because the perennials would come up and then the insects would come up and then the birds would take the insects. But now, by the time the birds get here, there are no more insects. And
Mm.
so we have less young birds,
Oh my gosh.
okay? And because they have less young birds, you have more insects. And the insects are attacking our crops. So we have a worse crop now. So that's what I mean by a subtle change. It's just happening and happening. And so we're changing our perennials, we're changing our birds. Um, Even the lightning bugs are now coming up earlier.
I haven't seen a lightning bug down here in a while.
Well, that could well be, yeah. Well, what's happening down there, all the fertilizer we're putting down on the lawns is killing the lightning bugs larvae.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's when I say trends change due to climate change. It's a
Yeah,
real thing. It's a real thing.
it definitely is a real thing. What kind of challenges did you face documenting this book? I mean, 40 years.
Well, I put it on Excel, all these charts. I have in the book there are 300 charts, which a lot of people roll their eyes back
Yeah,
back on. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people who aren't engineers they go, "Oh boy."
yeah, right?
But anyhow, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and so these
Mhm.
charts very definitely show you how the temperature is going and how the perennials are changing, coming out, and when the birds are leaving earlier or later. And so there's one there. Where did you get that? That's one of the charts. Yeah. And so the worst one I've seen is a house sparrow. We used to have maybe 20 to 15 house sparrows, but now I have maybe one or two after all that period of time. Why? Well, one theory is it's due to the carbon dioxide. It's due to the carbon dioxide we have in the air. Another one is the French made a study, and the French study shows that
Wait,
all
hold
the
on. Wait
okay,
for that to finish, and then
yep,
I'll cut this out.
right,
Okay? Just
yep,
wait for that to finish.
okay,
And then you can go back to due to the peroxide, okay? Is it done?
just about,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Where did I leave off?
Due to the peroxide.
Oh, well, the the first thing was it could be carbon dioxide, like the canaries in a mine. You remember those stories? When, when the miners would take canary down into the mines, and it was too much carbon dioxide, they would die. Well, the house sparrows are relative to those canaries. And so some people say, well, this decline in house sparrows might be all this extra carbon dioxide we're putting in the air.
Wow.
And to go to the far side, the French in their study says, well, maybe it's due to all the billions of cell waves that we have for the phones. And you think about it, well, that's a possibility, but they're saying, hey, that's a possible decline for the birds.
Wow. Wow. That is wow. This is blowing my mind because I mean, you never really notice all the changes because they're so subtle and they're so like over time. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So, how do you think these changes are going to benefit local communities? And if so, how do you think they're going to damage the local communities? I mean, there's benefits and then there's damages. I mean, the benefit for me would be that maybe I have a longer cycle for tomatoes. I don't know, but I just maybe the benefit for you would be that you don't have to deal with snow for what I mean. I don't
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
but
that's a
there are
benefit.
damages to this.
Yeah, that's the benefit. Yeah. Well, well, people who are building new homes, developments, uh,
Hmm.
like like Penn State is now recommending when they put in trees in the new developments, they should be putting in trees for a lower zone. You know what I mean by a planting zone?
Yes.
The country has from number 4 to number 9 planting zones,
Ooh.
depending on where you are.
Yeah.
So they're saying since everything's getting warmer, let's say you live in zone 6 and you're getting new trees, you should now buy trees for maybe zone 4 or 5 to compensate for this increase in temperature.
Wow.
You follow
So
me? You follow me on
I
that one?
do. So Florida would be the New Mexico?
Yeah, I don't.
I,
So the
I'm
people in
just trying to figure that out.
the people in New Mexico should almost be planting trees that grow in Mexico. And you
Oh my
follow me?
God.
Yeah. So
Wow. So
it's
like Georgia would be the new Florida.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Phew. Oh my gosh. Well, then that makes everything hotter.
Yep.
And now the actual North Pole would be like Greenland. I mean,
Good
maybe
point.
I.
No, that's a very good comparison. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So, I mean, what are the long term effects on this? I mean, like with your observations and everything that you've been looking for the over 40 years, obviously, and I thank you so much for doing that because not everybody's been thinking about taking, notes.
Right.
But what are your observations? What can we look forward to in the future?
Well, one thing most people could do, but it's a little hard, is plant native trees, but plant native trees of a new zone.
Mm,
Okay, because the trees we have now will die in 20 or 50 years. Likewise,
no.
if a lot of people who are moving into the area, if they see the big trees and they immediately cut them down because they don't like the big trees, but they don't plant new trees in place of it. And so I would recommend various towns and townships have some kind of a requirement or law that if you take a tree down, you put a new one back up.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's what I would recommend. That's one
Wow.
that's one thing we can do. We can plant native plants and trees for the upcoming zones.
Oof. Wow. Wow. So what can we and how would I say, not only are the trees, but now we have to think about the vegetables, the fruits,
Yeah,
the pollination. I mean,
yeah.
what can we do as a community in different places, obviously, on each zone now that we're moving down to a different zone? That's crazy. What can we do as a community to make sure that
As a,
we
as a
can
community,
eat?
plant vegetation for what's going to happen. That would be one thing they can do. But
Wow.
but trees are expensive. You get a sapling, which might be 10 to 12 feet high, and you're talking $200 to $300 a tree.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you were to, let's just say that you were to take notes for the next 40 years, what do
Yep.
you think it would be? What would that look like?
It would look like a new, all new vegetation. It's
Mm,
all new vegetation. Yeah.
mm,
And
mm.
all the birds are going to be all different. As I said, I lost 10, gained 10, and so I'm seeing that happen. I'm
Yeah.
seeing the migration is happening earlier, and so unfortunately, some birds have come up early, and then we got a big snowstorm. We don't know
Yeah.
what to do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Have you compared your notes to any other maybe releases, notes, scientific studies, or anything like that?
I have not, but the study is called phenology, and there is an
Mhm.
organization countrywide that gets similar information from various states, and I think they're studying what's happening.
Mm, mm, mm. Has there been any effects inside of you, like any like emotional freaking out kind of thing? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening.
No, but it's affecting allergies.
Oh, that's right.
It's happening earlier. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It is. And different too. Like I noticed where I didn't have allergies before, and now I sniff a lot.
Yeah, oh, yes, that's all part of it. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So what advice do you give someone that's actually starting their own long-term investigation, like what you did with your project in climate and ecology? What do you advise them?
Well, I would like to plant the seed in others to do what I do, and so because you can't compare like 5 years, you have to compare like 20 years. That was another interesting thing when I started to study. I plotted the mean temperature of a month over the years, and I looked at it, and it was like a saw blade. It was up and down, up and down. So from a mathematical point, I could just press the button and get a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the straight line went up, the straight line went down. I call that the trend line.
Okay.
And so the trend line was very clear. In fact, that graph you just had up there before has a trend line. So, so the norm that we had before is not a norm anymore. It's a developing trend line. There you go. You see that?
Okay.
Stop right there.
Which one? Right
The next,
there?
that one or the other one.
Okay.
See,
Which one would you like?
oh, let's go down one. Yeah.
There you go.
You see how if you just look at the yellow squares there, they're going up and down, up and down.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
they're getting higher.
yeah, but then if you put the trend line in, it definitely points out it's what's that chart represent is going up.
Yeah.
But if you look at the very right hand part, you see the yellow squares are going down. The last
Hmm.
three.
Yeah.
That last three, I finding in a lot of charts, be it the flowers or the temperature. I don't know what's causing that, but there is a decrease now.
Mm.
Yeah, it, I didn't realize it until a couple of months ago. I started to look and said, I have the red line, but look at the end there. Things are going down. It was so subtle how it happens.
Wow. So I mean, we can't really like because of the three, we can't really like say that the trend is going down and things are turning back to normal. Well, there is something going on.
There's no new normal because
Mm-mm.
it's a moving normal, if there is such a thing. It's a moving,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I got you. I got you. Wow. To literally see these things and to see all of the things that are changing and everything. Your book describes a lot of stuff and it also gives people the insight on the changes that have happened and the changes that probably will happen. Are you going to write another book?
Yes, I have. In fact, this book um, is now updated for about
Nice.
the past 5 years. So people would say, "Oh, well, okay, what's happening?" Because I'm sure
Uh-huh.
people will read it and start to say, "Okay, what's happened in the next chapter?" The next
Hmm.
year. But to answer your question, I have written another book just on birds and
Ooh,
how their lifestyle has changed due to climate change.
wow.
And it's not out yet.
Right.
It's coming.
I
Yeah,
hear ya. Wow. What do you want people to take away from with your book? I mean, because I know that the book is consistently updating. Even if you don't update it, it's still the climate is still updating. So,
right.
what do you want people to take away when they read your book?
That they realize that the subtle climate change is a real thing. That's the main point.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
a lot of people don't accept it.
It don't matter. It don't matter. It's happening.
It's just gonna happen. It's gonna happen anyhow.
It's happening. It
Yes.
doesn't matter. It's happening. Definitely. Wow. Wow. So,
Yeah.
trends due to climate change. Where can people find your book?
It's on. It'll be on Amazon, okay, and Barnes and Noble, and so it should.
So, you're gonna wait until that goes.
I
Don't worry
should.
about it. Wait until it goes away,
Yep.
and then I'll edit that out. Don't worry. That's why we do it like this. I have two phone rings. That's okay. I know. They like you.
Yeah, they do.
Let me know when it's done, and then then you can tell people where to find your book.
Okay, it's done. All right.
Okay.
So the book will be Amazon, uh, Barnes and Noble, but it's not out yet. It should be out in another month.
Awesome.
The,
Well,
the, the climate change should be out another month. Yeah.
yeah, the updated one, right?
Yep. And then I'm having a third book, and the third book
Hold
will be
on.
all
You
right.
gotta wait. Yeah.
Uh,
You take the phone off the hook if you want.
it is off
It's
the hook.
off the hook? What kind of new phone is that?
This is wait a minute.
Okay.
All right, good. Yeah. All right, good.
Go ahead.
I have a third book, and the third book is, as I said, it's birds and how their lifestyle is changing with climate change.
Mm, nice.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Mr. Buse, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. You've really enlightened me about how people that say, "Oh, climate change, yeah, fooey." Actually, this is real.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
real. It definitely is.
and it's changing their lifestyle. They don't even know it. Like
Exactly.
asthma, yeah,
Hmm.
allergies. Yep.
Wow. Well, trends due to climate change. We're going to have that information in the description box below, or you can go ahead and go to Mr. Buse's website, which is right under his name. It's Frederick Buse, Buse.com, and check out his book there. Mr. Buse, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. And you know what? We should all take climate change very seriously. It's going to affect our lives whether we like it or not. And whether you believe or not, it doesn't matter. It's happening.
Well, very well put. Yes.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, guys, bye. Thank you for watching.